In this video, I will talk about reliefs and remedies. Before getting on to the video, if you have still not subscribed to our channel, please subscribe. If you like this video, please press the like button and then share it to your friends. Corporate disputes are one of the important scenario wherein the board of directors will end up in some sort of a crisis. The shareholders would have lost trust in the board of directors. The promoters will not be cooperating with the management of the company. Like this, in the corporate disputes, there are a lot of scenarios which will result in a sort of crisis. To overcome that particular crisis and to ensure that the crisis is managed, to arrive at relief as well as remedies plays a very important role. Basically, this chapter is concentrating on what are the various reliefs and remedies available in case of corporate disputes, as well as in case of adjudication, and then if some penalties and punishment is levied, what are the important remedies available is what we have to necessarily understand and we need to implement. Since company secretaries are advisors to the members of the board of directors, it is the duty of the company secretary to necessarily submit his report to the board of directors and explain what are the consequences as well as remedies as well as reliefs available arising out of corporate disputes and adjudication. Broadly speaking, the types of relief as well as remedies, relief, remedies, basically when it comes to that, it can be used in certain circumstances, synonymous, but relief is something, it might be one time. Take for example, now because of the outbreak of COVID-19, there are a lot of reliefs Ministry of Corporate Affairs itself has provided. Like the company law settlement scheme is one of the important relief which has come in. Majority of the defaults which was there for n number of years, now this is the right time to complete all the filings without any payment of additional fee. This is one of the important relief which is being announced by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs itself. Holding the annual general meeting, that is automatic extension of holding the annual general meeting till 31st of December, and then post that you can complete the annual filings. The reliefs which is being provided by the income tax authorities, GST authorities with respect to submission of the returns, filing, all these things are some of the important reliefs which is being offered by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs itself. Like that, even in Companies Act 2013, there are so many reliefs as well as remedies available. One of the important remedy which is available with respect to adjudication as well as penalty is compounding of offences as enumerated under section 441 of Companies Act 2013. Let us try to understand what is this compounding is all about. In simple terms, if I have to talk about compounding, compounding is one of the important activity where it is to settle a matter by a money payment in lieu of other liability. Please note, there are so many circumstances where whenever a default is being committed, the default will be known by the board of directors, in the sense like any procedural flaws, any procedural delays, all these are some of the important defaults which the board of directors as well as the compliance team will be very well aware of. When they are very well aware of that, by following the procedure of compounding, they can make the default good. Please note, like, how to make the default good. If a particular form is not filed, say the return of allotment is required to be filed within 15 days or 30 days of allotment, whatever the case may be, form PIS3 is required to be filed. The form is not filed. You can file it, billate it, pay the additional fee. If there is a requirement, you need to go and then approach the authorities whenever there is a requirement to make the payment of penalty. How to approach on my own? By following the procedure of compounding. It is depending on the violation, default, on which section the default is conducted, whether there is a necessity to do the compounding or not. Please note, it is depending on what is the type of default which is being committed. Please note, all defaults are not compoundable. We have compoundable offences versus non-compoundable offences. There are certain defaults which are by nature compoundable. There are certain defaults which are by nature non-compoundable. Say it might be fraud which is being committed. These are certain types of offences which will result in prosecution where compounding is not at all the remedy which is available. Going to the special court and then taking bail or something like that will be the remedy available. Compounding is not at all the remedy for such serious offences. There is a big list of the sections which is being provided, where the defaults which is being arising out of those sections are primarily compoundable in nature. If the default what I have committed is compoundable in nature, then I need to choose what is the appropriate authority for me to go ahead and submit the compounding application. Nowadays, the National Company Law Tribunal's pecuniary limits are fixed. If the self-computed penalty is more than 25 lakhs, then only we need to approach the National Company Law Tribunal. Any penalty self-computed which is less than 25 lakh rupees, the jurisdiction will be with the regional director. So that is being very clearly mentioned in the law, as well as the circulars, as well as notifications from the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. So how to do compounding before the regional director? How to do compounding before the National Company Law Tribunal? Separate set of procedures are provided. So this chapter is primarily concentrated on the procedure of completing the activity of compounding. This is one of the important activity, and necessarily a practicing company secretary as well as a full-time company secretary should be aware. The moment the person becomes the company secretary after clearing the professional program, this kind of a situation may come up where we may have to do the activity of compounding. So what is the procedure required to be followed? We have to learn. In addition to that, compounding of offences is not just restricted to the provisions of Companies Act. Even under various legislations you will find how the compounding is required to be done. Even the violations of Foreign Exchange Management Act can be compounded by following the procedure provided as per the Reserve Bank of India notifications. So in Reserve Bank of India there are a lot of regulations like how the compounding is required to be done, and even Securities and Exchange Board of India, the employment related legislations, the environmental legislations, there are various legislations which provides for compounding, but the procedures differs from enactment to enactment, regulatory authority to regulatory authority. So a person who is taking care of the legal compliances, he should be necessarily aware of how the compounding is required to be done under each and every enactment applicable to the company. The second important remedy available to come out of this particular default or something like that, or corporate disputes to come out of that, it will be mediation and conciliation. Please note, this mediation and conciliation is recognized as per the provisions of Companies Act 2013. Mediation is something where when case of corporate disputes, bridging the gap of communication plays a very important role. The disputing parties will never come together and then they will not sit across the table and then discuss, communicate and arrive at a solution. In the mediation and conciliation, the facilitation will be done either in the form of lok adalats or it will be in the form of an informal process, where a person will act as the communication channel between the disputed parties so that the parties will amicably settle their dispute. That is the objective of mediation, and the mediation is recognized. Conciliation is little more formal when compared to mediation, where a conciliator will be appointed. The conciliator will do the activity of negotiation and he will bridge the communication gap, and he will ensure that the parties to the dispute will arrive at a settlement. And finally a settlement agreement will be entered into, and that settlement agreement will be binding on the parties who have concluded the activity of the settlement. Please note, every time whenever there is a dispute, going to the court is not the end remedy. There is a requirement to do the out of court settlement also. So one of the important option available, or the remedy available for out of court settlement of the disputes, will be mediation and conciliation, and these processes are recognized as per the provisions of Companies Act 2013. Coming to third important type of remedy available is settlement proceedings as per the provisions of SEBI. Please note, as per the provisions of company law, we call it mediation and conciliation, whereas when it comes to the provisions of SEBI, there are settlement proceedings under each regulations. Securities Appellate Tribunal you should think as the end resort, whereas settlement proceedings is something where after identification of the default, the parties to the default can approach the Securities and Exchange Board of India, the respective regulations, and then follow the settlement proceedings, so that easily and amicably there is a remedy available for the offences and defaults. By way of making the payment of penalty, they can come out of that particular dispute in a very easy way. So now I have completed the activity of compounding, I have done the settlement, and then I have concluded a particular thing. Now what is the sort of relief I am going to get? Please note, you will get immunity. the order of computing or the order of compounding, the settlement agreement, whatever it might be, it serves as immunity on the corporate person for the same dispute. Already if a compounding order is available with you, prosecution cannot happen for the same dispute because already you have come out of it by way of making the payment of penalty. So this is very important. So compounding procedure and the settlement as well as mediation procedure is very important in the career of company secretary. That's why this particular chapter is included in the syllabus. If you want to learn more about this particular course, please fill up the Google form which is being provided in the description box below. If you have any questions associated to this particular video, please comment. If you want to know more about the courses offered by Ekcel Academy, please visit our website www.ekcelacademy.com. Thank you.